Picture this. It's 1899. A man stands alone in the Colorado wilderness, surrounded by nothing but mountains and silence. Above him, a strange wooden tower stretches toward the sky. Inside, copper coils the size of wagon wheels hum with invisible power. He throws a switch, and then lightning, not from the clouds, from the ground. Bolts of electricity explode upward, tearing through the air with thunderclaps so loud they can be heard in the next town. The sky itself seems to crack open. Birds fall dead from the trees. Horses break free from their stables miles away, panicking from the electrical discharge pulsing through the earth beneath their hooves. The man doesn't run, he doesn't scream, he smiles. Because Nikola Tesla just proved something that would change everything we know about energy. Something so revolutionary, so utterly world-shattering, that within 2 decades the most powerful men on earth would conspire to make sure you never learned about it. You think you understand electricity. You think you know how power works. Flip a switch, electricity flows from a power plant through wires into your home. Simple, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. What if I told you that Tesla discovered a form of energy that exists everywhere, all around you, right now, at this very moment? Energy that doesn't need wires, doesn't need coal, doesn't need oil or gas or nuclear reactors. Free, unlimited, everywhere. What if I told you he proved it worked? That he demonstrated it in front of witnesses? That he filed patents? That he wrote papers explaining exactly how to replicate his results? And what if I told you that everything he discovered was systematically buried, discredited, and erased from history by the same financial interests that profit from keeping you dependent on their power grid? Here's the question that keeps physicists up at night. If Tesla was wrong, why did J.P. Morgan personally order the destruction of his greatest invention? Why did the FBI raid his hotel room within hours of his death? Why are parts of his research still classified 80 years later? They taught you Tesla was a brilliant eccentric who invented the AC motor and died broke. That's not the truth. Not even close. This is what they don't want you to know. Let's start with what they taught you in school. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. This is the first law of thermodynamics, the bedrock of modern physics, the foundation upon which our entire civilization is built. You want electricity? You need to generate it. Burn coal, split atoms, dam rivers, spin turbines. There's no free lunch in the universe. Every watt of power you use came from somewhere, and someone had to extract it, process it, and sell it to you. Makes sense, right? This is the story we've been told for over a century. Energy is scarce. Energy is expensive. Energy must be controlled, metered, and monetized. But here's the thing. What if the fundamental assumption is wrong? Not the law of thermodynamics itself, but our interpretation of what that law actually means. What if there's energy all around us, already present in unlimited quantities, and all we need is the right technology to tap into it? That's not fantasy. That's not pseudoscience. That's what Nikola Tesla spent his entire life trying to tell us, but that's not the truth, not even close. Let me take you back to the beginning. July 10, 1856. The village of Smiljan, in what was then the Austrian Empire. A violent thunderstorm rages across the Croatian countryside. Lightning splits the sky. Thunder shakes the windows. At the stroke of midnight, a woman screams in labor. The midwife, watching the lightning flash outside, shakes her head. "This child will be a child of darkness," she mutters. The mother, summoning her last strength, replies, "No. He will be a child of light." Nikola Tesla enters the world at the exact moment electricity tears across the heavens. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe something else entirely. From the earliest age, Tesla was different. He experienced visions vivid, blinding flashes of light that would overwhelm his senses. He could visualize complex machines in his mind, rotate them, test them, improve them all without ever touching pencil to paper. His memory was photographic. He could recite entire books word for word. He spoke 8 languages fluently. He could perform integral calculus in his head faster than his professors could write it on a blackboard. But it was his visions that set him apart. Tesla didn't just imagine inventions. He saw them, complete, functioning, real. "I do not rush into constructive work," he later wrote. "When I have a new idea, I begin building it up in my imagination. I change the construction, make improvements, and even operate the device in my mind." For most inventors, this would be a metaphor. For Tesla, it was literal. He would visualize a machine, run it mentally for weeks, check for wear on the imaginary parts, and then build it. And when he built it, it worked. First time, every time. The scientific establishment didn't know what to make of him. His professors accused him of cheating. His classmates thought he was possessed. The church called him dangerous. But Tesla knew something they didn't. He understood that the human mind could access levels of reality that most people never even suspected existed. That the universe was not a collection of dead matter grinding through mechanical laws, but a living, vibrating sea of energy waiting to be understood. "If you want to find the secrets of the universe," Tesla said, "think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." Those three words would define his life's work, and they would ultimately destroy him. Because what Tesla discovered about energy wasn't just revolutionary, it was forbidden. February 1882, Budapest, Hungary. Nikola Tesla is 25 years old. He's been working himself to exhaustion at the Budapest Telephone Exchange, his mind constantly churning on a problem that has defeated every electrical engineer in Europe. The direct current motor. See, in 1882, electricity means DC direct current. It flows in one direction, like water through a pipe. Simple, predictable, and completely USEELS for long-distance power transmission. Thomas Edison has built an empire on DC power, but there's a problem. DC electricity loses strength over distance. You can only transmit it about a mile before it fades to nothing. That means every city block needs its own power station. Every factory needs its own generator. Edison doesn't see this as a problem. He sees it as a business model. But Tesla sees a prison. He knows there must be a better way, a form of electricity that can travel hundreds of miles without losing power, a current that alternates flowing back and forth like the tide. The problem is, no one can figure out how to make an AC motor work. For months, Tesla has been trying. He's barely sleeping. He's barely eating. His friends are worried. His employer thinks he's having a nervous breakdown, and maybe he is. One afternoon, his friend Antal Szigeti drags him out of the office. "You need air," Szigeti insists. "You need to stop thinking about motors." They walk through the Varos Leger, the city park, as the sun begins to set. The sky turns gold, then orange, then deep crimson. Tesla breathes deeply, trying to clear his mind. And then it happens. He stops mid-stride. His eyes go wide. His whole body trembles. "Are you ill?" Szigeti asks. Tesla doesn't answer. He's not in Budapest anymore. He's somewhere else entirely. In his mind, he sees it. The entire machine. Complete. Perfect. Spinning. "Watch me," Tesla whispers. "Watch me reverse it." He grabs a stick and begins sketching in the dirt, drawing diagrams frantically, his hand barely keeping pace with his thoughts. Circles, coils, magnetic fields, a rotating field of force that doesn't require physical brushes or commutators, the components that made every other AC motor fail. "There!" he shouts. "Do you see it? The field rotates." The rotor follows, no sparks, no air, no limits. Szigeti stares at the diagrams, understanding nothing, but Tesla understands everything. In that single moment, watching the sunset in a Budapest park, Nikola Tesla has invented the polyphase alternating current motor, the invention that would electrify the entire world. But here's what they don't teach you. That wasn't all he saw. Tesla later described that moment as a complete revelation. The AC motor was just the beginning. In that same flash of insight, he glimpsed something far more profound, a vision of electricity itself, not as a current flowing through wires, but as a universal force that permeated all of space. I could see the rotating magnetic field as clearly as I see these trees, he wrote decades later. But beyond it, I saw something else. I saw that the electrical force was not confined to conductors. It existed everywhere, in the air, in the ground, in the space between atoms. And it could be accessed directly, without wires, without generators, without any of the machinery we believed was necessary. This vision would haunt him for the rest of his life. And in 1899, he would finally prove it was real. Colorado Springs. Tesla arrives in May with funding from wealthy investors and a mission that sounds like science fiction to transmit electrical power without wires, not radio waves, not signals, power. He builds a laboratory unlike anything the world has ever seen. At its center stands a wooden tower, 50 feet tall, topped with a copper sphere. Inside, a massive Tesla coil, the largest ever constructed, capable of generating millions of volts of electricity. The locals think he's insane. The newspapers call him a mad scientist. Tesla doesn't care. For 6 months, he conducts experiments that still defy explanation today. He lights electric bulbs placed in the ground a mile away with no wires connecting them. He sends electrical pulses through the Earth itself and measures them bouncing back from the other side of the planet. He creates artificial lightning bolts that stretch over 100 feet, accompanied by thunder heard in Cripple Creek, 15 miles distant. And on one night, Tesla recorded meticulously in his notes he does something that shouldn't be possible according to conventional physics. He claims to receive signals, not from Cripple Creek, not from Denver, from Spast. I have observed electrical actions which have appeared inexplicable, he wrote, faint and uncertain though they were. They have given me a deep conviction that ere long all human beings on this globe will feel the presence of this energy. The scientific establishment dismissed this as delusion, but Tesla was just getting started, because what he learned in Colorado Springs wasn't just about wireless transmission, it was about the nature of energy itself, and what he discovered would threaten every power company, every oil baron, and every financial interest that profited from keeping energy scarce. They had to stop him, and they did. May 1893, Chicago, Illinois. The world's Columbian Exposition. 27 million people will visit this fair over the next 6 months. They'll see the first Ferris wheel. They'll eat the first Cracker Jack. They'll witness a vision of the future that will transform American culture forever. But the main attraction? The one that draws crowds so large the police have to hold them back? Nikola Tesla's electrical demonstration. The hall is packed, standing room only. Hundreds of spectators press against the barriers, craning their necks to see the stage where a tall, gaunt man in an impeccable black suit stands beside strange copper coils and blast tubes. Tesla raises his hand for silence. "Ladies and gentlemen," he begins, his Serbian accent soft but carrying through the hall. "Tonight I will show you the future of humanity." He gestures to his assistant, who throws a switch. The lights dim. And then the crowd gasps. Tesla's body begins to glow. Blue flames dance across his hands. Electricity arcs between his fingers. His hair stands on end, crackling with visible static. He appears to be on fire, yet he shows no pain, no injury. 200,000 volts of electricity are now passing through my body, he announces calmly. Current that would kill a normal man instantly. A woman in the front row faints. Tesla smiles. He picks up a gas discharge tube, a gas bulb filled with inert gas, and holds it in his bare hand. Without any wires, without any visible connection to power, the tube blazes to life. Brilliant white light floods the stage. The audience erupts. But Tesla isn't finished. He produces more tubes, different shapes, different gases. He waves them through the air like magic wands, and each one glows with its own color: red, green, blue, violet. He appears to be conjuring light from nothing. This, Tesla declares, is the power of the future. Light without wires, power without fuel, energy drawn from the universe itself. The crowd doesn't fully understand what they're seeing. Neither do the scientists watching from the VIP section. But here's what was actually happening. Tesla had discovered something extraordinary about high-frequency alternating current. When electricity oscillates fast enough millions of cycles per second, it behaves in ways that seem to defy the normal rules of electrical engineering. Think about it like this. Imagine you're holding a bucket of water. If you move the bucket slowly, the water sloshes around, some of it spilling over the sides. This is like normal electricity. It flows through conductors, but it loses energy, creates heat, can cause shocks. But what if you vibrate the bucket incredibly fast? So fast that the water can't keep up with the motion? Something strange happens. The water stops sloshing. It seems to hover in place. The normal rules no longer apply. That's what Tesla did with electricity. By pushing the frequency high enough, he created electrical currents that would pass harmlessly through the human body. Currents that would leap through the air without wires. Currents that could illuminate gas-filled tubes without any physical connection. This wasn't magic. This was physics that the establishment didn't understand. The present is theirs, Tesla would later say of his critics. The future, for which I really worked, is mine. But here's where it gets really interesting. At that same demonstration, Tesla showed something else, something that most historians overlook, something that would become the key to his most controversial discovery. He demonstrated that electricity didn't need wires to travel, not just a few feet like those glowing tubes, but significant distances, through walls, through the air that Tesla had developed what he called wireless telegraphy, the transmission of electrical signals without cables. But unlike Marconi, who would later win the Nobel Prize for radio, Tesla wasn't just sending weak signals, he was sending power. During a private demonstration for potential investors, Tesla set up two identical Tesla coils on opposite sides of a room. He powered one, the other connected to nothing began to spark. "Do you understand what you're seeing?" he asked his stunned audience. "Distance is irrelevant. With the right frequency, power can be transmitted anywhere on Earth." The investors understood perfectly. They saw dollar signs. Within months, Tesla had funding to build the most ambitious project of his life, Wardenclyffe Tower, a massive transmission facility on Long Island that would prove, once and for all, that electricity could be broadcast across the planet like radio signals. No power lines, no coal plants, no monthly bills. Free energy for everyone on Earth. The man who funded it, J.P. Morgan, the most powerful banker in America. The man who controlled the electrical industry, the steel industry, the railroads. Why would Morgan fund a project that would make his power grid obsolete? He wouldn't. And when he realized what Tesla was actually building, he destroyed it. Now, let's talk about what Tesla actually understood about energy. This is where it gets technical. This is where most people get lost. This is where the mainstream physics community starts calling you a crackpot. But stay with me. Because once you understand this, everything changes. You've been taught that energy is a thing, a substance that exists in limited quantities like gold or oil. You burn fuel, you get energy. You run out of fuel, you run out of energy. Simple. But that's not what Tesla believed. Tesla believed that energy wasn't a substance at all. It was a condition, a state of the universe itself. And this state existed everywhere, all the time, in unlimited quantities. Let me explain with an analogy. Imagine you're standing at the edge of the ocean. You look out at the water and you think, that's a lot of water, but it's finite. If I could pump it all out, eventually I'd hit the bottom. Now imagine someone tells you that the ocean isn't really water at all. It's a depression in the surface of something much larger, a vast, invisible substance that permeates all of space. And this substance is vibrating, constantly, endlessly. The water you see is just a tiny fraction of this vibration, manifesting in a form your senses can detect. That's what Tesla believed about energy. He called it the luminiferous ether, an idea that mainstream physics officially rejected in 1905 after Einstein's theory of relativity. But Tesla never accepted Einstein's conclusions. Until his dying day, he insisted that the ether was real, that it filled all of space, and that it contained unlimited energy just waiting to be extracted. Electric power is everywhere, present in unlimited quantities, Tesla wrote in 1900, and can drive the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, or any other of the common fuels. Now, here's the thing. Modern physics doesn't talk about the ether anymore. It's considered a discredited concept, a relic of Victorian pseudoscience. But, modern physics does talk about something remarkably similar. They call it vacuum energy, zero-point energy, the quantum field. According to quantum mechanics, the most successful theory in the history of science, empty space is not actually empty. It's filled with virtual particles, constantly popping into and out of existence, carrying energy even at absolute zero temperature. How much energy? Here's where it gets insane. According to calculations by physicist John Wheeler, a single cubic centimeter of empty space contains more energy than all the matter in the observable universe. Read that again. 1 cubic centimeter, the size of a sugar cube, contains more energy than everything else combined. Now, mainstream physicists will tell you that this energy can't be accessed. It's a fundamental property of space, they say, not something you can tap into. But is that true, or is that just what we've been told? Because here's what Tesla actually demonstrated. He showed that high-frequency oscillations could extract electrical energy from what appeared to be empty space. He lit bulbs with no wires. He generated power with no apparent source. He created effects that his contemporaries couldn't explain. Some researchers today, like Dr. Thomas Ballone and Dr. Moray B. King, argue that Tesla may have been accessing this zero-point energy without understanding the quantum mechanical explanation, that his methods, high-frequency oscillations, resonance, and what he called radiant energy were actually techniques for extracting power from the vacuum itself. Is this proven? No. Is it possible? According to the math, yes. Has anyone successfully replicated Tesla's most controversial experiments? That's where it gets complicated. Several inventors have claimed to build devices based on Tesla's principles. Some have demonstrated effects that seem to violate conventional understanding of energy conservation. Almost all of them have faced ridicule, harassment, and in some cases, mysterious deaths. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe someone doesn't want these questions answered. Think about it. If vacuum energy is real and physics says it is, then we are literally surrounded by an infinite ocean of power. Every cubic inch of space contains more energy than humanity has consumed in its entire history. The only thing standing between us and unlimited free energy is the technology to extract it. Tesla believed he had that technology, and the moment he tried to give it to the world, the most powerful forces on Earth moved to stop him. J.P. Morgan agrees to fund Wardenclyffe Tower. Tesla pitches it as a wireless telegraphy station, a competitor to Marconi's radio. Morgan invests $150,000, a fortune at the time. Construction begins on Long Island. But Morgan doesn't know the truth. Tesla isn't building a radio tower. He's building a power transmission facility, a device that will broadcast free electricity to anyone with a receiver, anywhere on Earth. No wires, no meters, no bills. When Morgan discovers this, he's furious. Where do we put the meter? He allegedly demands. Think about that question. Morgan doesn't ask if it will work. He doesn't question the physics. He asks, how do we charge for it? And when he realizes there's no way to monetize free energy, he pulls the funding. Not only that, he makes sure no one else will fund it either. Morgan controls American finance. When he blacklists a project, that project dies. Wardenclyffe Tower sits unfinished. Tesla's notes, his plans, his pro. In 1917, the tower is dynamited on orders from the U.S. government. The official reason? It might be used by German spies during World War I. The real reason? We can only speculate. But the pattern continues. Throughout the early 20th century, multiple inventors claimed to develop free energy devices based on Tesla's principles. Almost all of them face the same fate. Their funding disappears, their patents are rejected or seized, their reputations are destroyed, some simply vanish. Thomas Henry Moray developed a radiant energy device in the 1920s. that allegedly powered electrical equipment with no external source. His laboratory was repeatedly vandalized. He was shot at. His device was destroyed, and he never successfully rebuilt it. John Keely demonstrated motors that ran on etheric force in the 1890s. After his death, skeptics claimed to find hidden tubes in his laboratory, but the investigation was funded by his business competitors. Stanley Meyer invented a water-powered car in the 1990s. He died suddenly at a restaurant, reportedly shouting, "They poisoned me," with his dying breath. The autopsy said brain aneurysm, pattern after pattern after pattern. And at the center of it all, Nikola Tesla. After Wardenbliff failed, Tesla spent decades in declining poverty, living in increasingly cheap hotel rooms, feeding pigeons in Bryant Park, desperately trying to interest anyone in his inventions. He wrote to governments. He pitched to corporations. He described weapons that could end all war, power systems that could light the world, communication devices that could reach other planets. Everyone ignored him. Or did they? Because when Tesla finally died in 1943, something strange happened. Within hours of his death, before his body was even cold, FBI agents arrived at the New Yorker hotel. They seized his papers, all of them. Decades of research, designs, notes, diagrams. The official story is that they were looking for weapons technology. Tesla had described a death beam that concerned the military. But why classify the rest? Why seal records for decades? Why are portions of Tesla's papers still not available to the public 80 years later? What are they hiding? And here's the question that should make you angry. If Tesla's ideas about free energy were just the delusions of a mad scientist, why did the most powerful institutions on Earth treat them like the most dangerous secret in human history? January 7th, 1943. Room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel. A maid knocks on the door of the elderly guest who lives there. He's asked not to be disturbed, but no one has seen him in days. No answer. She opens the door. Nikola Tesla lies on his bed, fully dressed, his eyes closed. He looks peaceful, almost smiling. He is 86 years old. He has outlived every one of his enemies. Edison, Morgan, Westinghouse, all dead. He has also outlived his own reputation. Once the most famous inventor in the world, he dies nearly forgotten, alone in a cheap hotel room, surrounded by pigeons and regret. But even in death, they didn't leave him alone. The FBI's Office of Alien Property seizes everything. Why the Office of Alien Property? Tesla was a naturalized American citizen. He had been American for 50 years. Unless they were treating his ideas as alien, unless they suspected something about his knowledge that went beyond conventional science, MIT professor John G. Trump, yes, Donald Trump's uncle, is brought in to examine the papers. He concludes that nothing of significance is present, just the thoughts and efforts of an aging man. Case closed. Except, portions of those papers have never been released. Requests under the Freedom of Information Act return pages of black redactions. Entire folders are simply missing. What was in them? We may never know. But here's what we do know. Tesla's ideas didn't die with him. Wireless power transmission. Your phone charges on a pad with no cables. That's Tesla. Radio-controlled devices. Every drone, every remote-controlled car, every wireless gadget. Tesla patented the concept in 1898. Radar, fluorescent lighting, X-ray imaging, all Tesla. And slowly, quietly, researchers around the world are returning to his more controversial ideas. Wireless power transmission over distances is now being developed by multiple companies. Resonant inductive coupling, the technology behind wireless charging, is based directly on Tesla's patents. Some researchers are even beginning to take zero-point energy seriously. Not as fantasy, but as legitimate physics waiting for the right engineering breakthrough. Maybe Tesla was right. Maybe the energy is there all around us, waiting. Maybe we just need to remember what he tried to teach us. Let the future tell the truth, Tesla once said, and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine. The future is arriving. And slowly, the truth is coming with it. So now you know. You know about the breakthrough in Budapest, the lightning in Colorado, the tower on Long Island that could have changed everything. You know about the suppression, the funding that disappeared, the papers that were seized, the questions that were never answered. And you know the question that matters most. What would the world look like if Tesla's vision had been realized? If energy was free, unlimited, available to everyone? They don't want you asking that question. But now, you're asking it. In our next video, we're going to explore the specific technology Tesla designed to harvest this energy and the modern scientists who claim to have rebuilt it. Subscribe now so they can't hide this from you anymore, because the truth is coming and nothing can stop it. The present is theirs. But the future belongs to Tesla.